Hey guys, how's it going? So preparing yourself by practicing for a yo-yo competition is really important if you want to get good results. But there's another part of this equation as well. What should you do to prepare your yo-yos that you're going to compete with before the competition? I'm going to break this video up into 3 sections. First of all is what do you do 1 week before the competition, right? The next section is what do you do about an hour before you're about to perform. And the third section is like the other guys performing, what do you do as you're waiting to go? So like right before you're about to compete at this competition. So what I would do 1 week before the competition is 2 things. First, clean the bearing, and second, change the pads. Why would I do that? If you're practicing for competition, generally you're going to be throwing your competition yo-yos per se a lot, right? And this is a Werrd 86400 by the way. And pretty much you'll be throwing them a lot, meaning that you'll be wearing down the pads a little bit and you'll be wearing down the bearing, right? Now, more often than not, yo-yos can handle it. They don't really need to be cleaned on a daily, monthly basis. So this is what I would do as a week before, because generally if you change the pads and you clean the bearing, you shouldn't have too many traumas going into the competition. So what would I do? These yo-yos are pretty well maintained at the moment, but I'll just take it apart and show you guys what I'd actually do if I was in a competition, or preparing for one anyway. So unscrew the yo-yo, take the string out, and what you'd want to do is you'd want to get a pair of pliers, and take the bearing out. Be careful with that, you might damage the bearing, but yeah, okay. So this is the bearing, and what I do with that is I get lighter fluid, shellite lighter fluid, and pour it inside a glass jar. So that's just this poured into there, and the first thing I do is I de-shield the bearing. Now there are a whole lot of videos on how to clean a yo-yo bearing, so I'm not going to get too in-depth on that. I think I've actually made one myself, so yeah, if you want a more in-depth tutorial, I guess this is what you'd need. That's what you should look at, but this one's just a walkthrough, I guess. So the bearing's de-shielded, meaning that, you know, the shields on it are gone, and I just open this up, and I think the bearing's simmered in there for a while, and just got a bit of tissue here. Get your pliers, grab the bearing out, and plonk it on there. So it really helps in this situation to have something like, looking for it now, something skinny like a paintbrush that you can just put your bearing on and spin most of the lighter fluid out. Now a lot of people like to re-shield their bearings. I personally don't bother with that as much as I used to. Anyway, this is a kind of nifty tip. So most people, they just dunk a whole drop of thin lube in there, and you can do that, but what that'll do is slow down your bearing quite a lot. So what I like to do is a little nifty trick that I picked up on YouTube a couple of years ago is you put the lube onto the pin, right? And that allows you to get a really small amount of lube just there. See, so it's a tiny little drop, and that will serve its purpose, right? And that'll keep the bearing running smoothly without, you know, putting a whole drop in there. That'll make you like have to play hours and hours to get spinning fast again. All right, so we've put some of the lube in there, and just like that, see how as soon as I put the lube in there, it just spins so much faster, so much smoother. You've got your bearing now, and I'm just gonna re-shield it because, I don't know, just for the sake of the viewers, I guess. Ordinarily, I wouldn't bother too much, but I like to re-shield bearings if their shields are in relatively good condition. So I've been doing this for a while, so it's not that much of an issue for me. So re-shielding bearings and stuff doesn't really bother me, because bearings, when they screw up, they can be a bit annoying, but generally they're alright. So, okay. Next thing is changing the pads. So I've got a whole little jar of IR pads at the moment, right? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get that pin that I was using and just take the current pads out, all right? When you're playing around and practicing for competition, the things that wear out the most, other than the string, is the pads. So just stick it in there and pull it out, all right? I'll give you a closer look, but as you can see there, you just push it in, right? And there will be kind of two layers, usually generally the pads, right? As you can see that there's the blue layer and there's this layer of glue. You want to make sure that the two layers are stuck together as you pull out the pad. And that'll just make it really, really clean and easy for the installation of the next pads. Okay, so a disclaimer, pretty much if you're changing pads, it's good to change to what you've been using in the yo-yo beforehand. So I don't really use the 86-400 for competition. I use the IR JPX, so that's why I'm not too fussed about changing blueprint pads to IR pads. But if you're in the competition and you want the exact same feel that you've been practicing with, it'd be probably a good idea to invest in the same pads that came with the yo-yo, or the ones that you had installed in it while practicing, just so any of the minor differences in the pads won't throw you off. But again, this is me just kind of maintaining my yo-yo, so alright, so you got your new pad here, and the IR pad just comes with a sticker at the back, really convenient. You go ahead and peel that off, and then you'll have the sticky side of the IR pad. And what you'll do is just gently put it into the groove of the yo-yo. Now, what you want to do is you want to make sure that nothing is sticking up on the edge of it, so you really want to press down on all of the areas of the pad, just to make sure that nothing's sticking out, and that could potentially hinder your yo-yo performance or your yo-yo spin time. So just make sure the pad is very, very flat, and you should be good. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that with the other side. That's it, okay? So what you want to do after this is get your bearing that's now very, very clean and lubed up. Now, one thing is that put a bit of lube in, because if you run your bearing dry a week before a competition, it puts it at a very, very vulnerable risk that it might lock up. So again, use that little nifty lube trick I told you, and that'll allow you to lube your bearing without over lubing it and slowing it down. So when I put the lube in, it actually made the bearing faster. So again, put the bearing into the yo-yo, screw it together. So yeah, what I would do with that is I'd happily leave the yo-yo running like that for a week. You know, I wouldn't be too concerned changing the pads right before competition, because I like to break them in a little bit, and generally the bearing will stay the same. So the next part will be, what would I do about an hour before the competition? And an hour before the competition, what I generally do is I would just change the strings on all my competition yo-yos. So again, very, very easy thing to do. What I would do is, I do this for both yo-yos, so everything I'm doing I would do with all my competition yo-yos, and you know, I'd like to have just a couple of competition yo-yos just in case I knot one up while I'm on stage. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the string off, and you don't actually need to take the string off, unscrew the yo-yo to take the string off. What you do is you just untwist the string, like so, and then slip the yo-yo out. And then if you want to keep the string, I guess, you keep some tension in it, so don't allow it to like slacken up, and just slowly retwine it back to the way it wants to go. Simple, right? To change a new string, this is a relatively fresh string, so I'm not going to really waste any other strings. You just untwirl it again, like so, slip it onto the yo-yo, keep some tension in, and slowly allow the string to twist back in. And there, wind it up. And what I like to do is, a lot of players, they like to stretch their strings, you know, cut it and things like that. But I personally don't stretch my strings unless I have a really, really grabby yo-yo. And what I like to do is I like to throw the yo-yo with the new string after about an hour, and just to get a feel for it, just to fully get it down before I go up on stage on competition. Finally, the last thing I would do, so section 3. So you're literally sitting down at the seat, or you're watching the competitor that's right before you compete, and you're just sitting there. What would I do then? The first thing I would do is I get all my yo-yos there, right? So let's try and get another string here. So I get all my yo-yos, all my competition yo-yos. So at the moment I've kind of got two 86-100s. And then I would make the slip knot really, really big, just in case I need to change out. So how to make the slip knot, you guys should all know how to do this, but just in case, get your loop like that, get the string, pull it through, and make it around that big. Yeah. So that's how big I would keep the slip knot on a backup yo-yo. So there, that's how you can see. You can learn more about that in my other video, but that's one of my first ones actually. It's kind of awkward watching that, but yeah, that's what it's like. And the other one, of course, I just attach it to my hand, and then boom, boom. I probably have more than one, probably have like at least 2 or 3. And then yeah, after that, get ready to walk up on stage and show everyone the tricks I've been practicing. So yeah, that's pretty much it. A brief summary. 1 week before, I'd clean the bearing, change the pads. An hour before, I changed the string. And right before, I'd make the slip knots in all my backup yo-yos, just in case I change. I've got a backup yo-yo and I can get in there as quick as possible. So that's pretty much that, and if you liked it, give it a thumbs up so I know what you guys like and I can post more of it, and see you guys next time.